one must turn to the past in order to look towards the future. Are you ready to take this journey with me? Now, why am I talking about returning to the past to go to the future? Well, because I'm trying something a little different. This is gonna be... I don't really have a name for it yet. I think I want to call this... let's call this PlayStation Revisited. Kind of a series I want to do where we're gonna revisit some of like the hit or bigger PlayStation games that came out during the... We'll do like at least PS4 era. I don't think I'll be able to go any further back than that. And the reason I want to do that is because we are now in the PS5 era. And not everyone has a PS5 right now. But when you do get a PS5, you're going to wonder, is like, what should I play? There's not a whole lot of just PS5 exclusive games out yet. I mean, there's Returnal, The Pathless, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Those are the three big ones. But other than that, it's mainly games that are getting upgrades or are going to be available on both platforms. So that leaves you scratching your head and wondering, is like, well, what should I play? What should I even bother with? Now, even we are in a new generation. That doesn't mean you shouldn't go back to what was. And that's why we're starting with this, which I feel like is the most relevant game to talk about. Ghost of Tsushima. Play that flute. Ghost of Tsushima. Personally, my favorite game to come out last year prior to the launch of next-gen games. And one that's definitely say, if you haven't already, to dive into whether you have your PS5 or not. Because this game is amazing in every way. Let me describe it like this. You ever wondered what would happen if Ubisoft finally dove into sort of like a Japanese setting for their games for Assassin's Creed? But this is, but better. It's what Ubisoft could have done, but so much better. So in this video, it's almost gonna be like a review kinda, and basically whether or not you should dive into some of these slightly older games from the last generation, or when you get your PS5. Because I'll say this: no matter what game you get from the last generation, if you play on your PS5, it's gonna play and run better than what it did on last gen consoles. It's basically a given, because this Ghost of Tsushima, this is still a PS4 version at the time of recording this, and on PS4 I believe it only ran at like 30 FPS, but on the PS5 it pushes it to like the best it can run at, which is 60, and it is so smooth looking. But that does not matter with this game. Let us take a walk while I continue to talk about the journey of Jin Sakai, who became the Ghost of Tsushima. Where's my horse? There's my horse. Let's trot, my friend. Now, Ghost of Tsushima, for what you know, you play as not so young, but also like very brazen samurai Jin Sakai, and takes place on the island of Tsushima. Wow, the whole story almost in the title right there. Anyway, so the whole premise of the game is that the Mongols invade, and you, Jin Sakai, get tested not only in your skills as a samurai, but in your morals and will as a samurai. Get put to the test on, do you stay true to yourself, or do you go by any means possible to save the people of Tsushima once again? Yes. Die. First off, as you can see, this gameplay it seems very simple, but at the same time, it's so satisfying. You feel truly like a badass samurai that's just taking on these hordes of Mongol enemies and slicing them down with ease. Oh, shuck the blood off. It's so satisfying that I can't get enough of it. Like, there's just so many little details in this game, from how you carry yourself as a samurai to sheathing your sword, shucking the blood off so your blade doesn't rust. And then you see the little blood splatters all over my clothes as I just cut down a horde of Mongols. And now I trot back to my horse. I forget what I've named him. But anyway, let's continue to trot along. So, the story for this game is actually very fascinating. Like I said, you follow Jin Sakai as he fights to basically restore Tsushima that's now been invaded and almost taken over by the Mongols. And the story really, it's really a test of character, not just by like putting you through this journey and these struggles of trying to fight this new unorthodox enemy that the samurai have not faced before, but it's also a test of Jin's character, because Jin was raised on the samurai ways, but now to face this new threat, he has to really questions like is the way of the samurai the only way? Is our ways of honor and fighting honorably the way to go about things? And side sport, he comes to the conclusions like we have to do more in order to win this fight, in order to save ourselves. Until you essentially become the Ghost of Tsushima. Which you can almost describe as sort of like a hybrid between like Jin the samurai, and now you're also almost like this ninja assassin that incorporates sneak attacks, uses poison, throws kunais, uses all of these little tricks to get the better of his enemies. Basically, all the stuff that samurai won't do, which is why it brings character. This is why it makes Jin question his character and the ways of the samurai. Is like, is this really the one true way? Is our way of knowing really gonna get us out of this, or is it all for nothing? And that's what things that I love about this. It's a really great story about character, and then how his relationships sort of change over the course of the game with certain people, and really just overall it's a fantastic story that I loved playing all the way through. It definitely had its very emotionally how do I put it, emotionally driven moments. Definitely it was not all sunshines and rainbows throughout this entire game. No, there was a lot of death, heartbreak, betrayal, all that good stuff. Best way I could describe it is it plays out like a classic Japanese samurai film, which is exactly what this game was going for. There's even you can even play through this game through an old grainy black and white style, and it even has a Japanese language setting. So to really give you that feel of playing through a Japanese old style Japanese film, if you wanted to go through that. So that's a pretty cool option right there too. And why you would want to do that? Because going through this game, it's almost like playing through a movie in a way. Now, nothing quite on the scale of The Last of Us 2, where that's a movie and a TV series and a half on its own. But still a great movie nonetheless. And then the other reason that makes this game and there's one other thing, my favorite thing about this game, that I feel like if all else fails, you should definitely check this out, is just how freaking gorgeous this game is. Even on obviously I'm playing this on my PS5, but on base PS4, this game looked amazing. It was hard for me to believe. It's how is this running on PS4 hardware and not blowing up? Just looking at all this lighting, and then looking back up to the sky and seeing the light peer through the trees. And then there's the photo mode, which is probably the best part, my favorite part about this game. Now let's see. I'm not gonna get too crazy with it, but there's the photo mode has so much detail. You could change the grading of the whole setting. Look at this. It's like I'm in a completely different area if I use this filter. And then it's almost like through a muggy swamp with this filter. It's very in-depth. And then you got the samurai red, the smoke, the maple, ginkgo, tintype, all that kind of stuff. Changes intensity, exposure bias, the contrast. And then here's another cool. You can add in different particle effects, to get that perfect picture. You can make red leaves randomly fall when there's no red leaf trees to be seen anywhere. Yellow leaves, bamboo leaves, orange, green, cherry blossoms. There's not a cherry blossom tree in the sky. You can choose how much of it falls down. You can choose how fast the wind blows, which direction it goes, what the clouds look like, the time of day, the weather, everything. This is, I've honestly, like, I think photo modes is definitely one of like the best additions to video games, because it really captures the beauty of a lot of games, especially when you're playing through like at such a fast pace, or you're trying to go through as quickly as possible, and then you dive into that photo mode and it just slows things down to make you really appreciate it and go like, wow, this game is stunning. And stunning is almost an understatement for describing this game. And then, of course, there's different stances. So there's different sword stances you can do for fighting the different enemies in the game. Like, as of course, as you can see, we got our shield fighters here, which I will use the Watcher stance to break through their defenses. And then here's what's nice part, you see the blood on my sword? I love the detail in this game. Blood on my sword, you swipe right on the touchpad of the controller, which not a lot of games on the PS4 even use the touchpad that I can remember. But you swipe right, you'll shuck the blood off, and then you'll sheath your sword. That is freaking amazing. And then you swipe left on this. Swipe left on it. Swipe left. Okay, normally when you swipe left, you can play the flute, but for whatever reason, I can't play my flute right now. I don't know if it's because I have a mask on or something, or there's enemies around. I don't know. I want to play my flute. But yeah, anyway, Ghost of Tsushima is definitely one of the biggest highlights to come out of the PS4 prior to the next gen. Oh, little birdie. And then here's another nice part. All these little, like, part of, like, the side objectives and all that stuff do not feel tedious at all. Normally with these open mode games, and they have these, like, side objectives and collectibles and stuff, they can feel, like, so tedious to do and everything. But no, not in Ghost of Tsushima. It's done in such a clever way to where, like, you'll be going through the game, and then something like this will happen. You'll find this little bird will find you. And what do? You find the little bird if he's not, glitched out. And okay, basically he's supposed to lead me to like a collectible or something like that. And there's many other versions of that. There's foxes that can lead you to fox dens and stuff like that. Hey, look, this little bird led me to the shop, and now I got a new mask. Yeah, stuff like that, like that so easily gets you so sidetracked, but not in a way that like heeds your process. You actually enjoy doing these things. Chasing after the bird, finding the fox, climbing up mountains, or like going through various paths to get to shrines and stuff. They aren't for nothing. They give you like different cosmetics or upgrades and all kinds of stuff. Like there's just so much detail and like charm put into these games. Not these games. This game right here. That it's like you can't help but love it just from the charm alone. Sucker Punch can do no wrong. And like I said, this was my personal favorite game last year. Between that and Last of Us Part 2, I think either of them, no matter which one got Game of the Year, Last of Us Part 2 obviously did, but which either of them got them, I'd be happy with it. Last of Us Part 2 was deserving of it, and so was Ghost of Tsushima. Like, just look at this, like, snow field, man. Just, like, trotting through here, the little snow falling, and then trotting through the mud. The contrast of the white snow and the mud paths from where people's carriages and have been going through and where they've walked. There's just, like... I don't know how Sucker Punch did it to make this game look as gorgeous as it is, to where it's, like, playing through art, a movie of art. But they did it. With great combat, a pretty cool character in Jin Sakai, was kind of worried in the beginning. It's like, oh, this guy's gonna be pretty bland. But then, like, as the story go on, it's like, you really start to like the guy and a bunch of the people he meets and stuff. There's definitely a nice cast of characters here that you really can't help but either, fall for, like, really start to like and connect with. And it just adds so much more to the game instead of just having, like, bland NPC characters or stuff. Now, I will say the one downside to this game is, like, the enemy variety isn't huge. You mainly fight the same, like, kind of, like, 4 types of enemies, which is what your stances are based off of. You'll typically fight, you can almost tell, like, from the symbols there down on the bottom right, you'll fight, like, shieldmen, guys with spears, swordsmen. I forget. Oh, and like Juggernaut almost got like real big dudes that fight with like hammers and maces. Those are like the general three enemies you'll face off, unless you count the wildlife. But the wildlife is a completely different thing because you actually, in a way, you actually kind of want to do hunt the wildlife because you can actually collect their pelts and then use them for different upgrades. Like I just heard a bear, but just like look at this scenery. I'm gonna be gushing about the scenery in this game so much because it is so gorgeous, and Ghost of Tsushima has one of the best opening title cards, in gaming history as far as I'm concerned. So now this all begs the question, from the really quick, fast-paced gameplay that's almost like a much better and improved Assassin's Creed style gameplay to like the actual like somewhat emotional story and journey of Jin's like character and his quest to save the island of Tsushima, especially as like one of the, I guess you could say, like head clans that sort of watch over the island, and then to like the scenic beauty of this, and that really gets brought out with like the photo mode and as you're going through these areas. The question really is now, should you get Ghost of Tsushima in 2021 for your PS5? And if you can't tell from how much I've been talking about it, yes, get this game. Now, we do have the director's cut coming out in little less than a month. The time recording this, I believe it's August 20th, if I remember correctly. Here, let's take out these Mongols while I talk. August 20th, and now that's obviously been surrounded in a lot of controversy lately with Sony doing these with Sony doing these director's cuts for some of their more popular games now on the last gen consoles, at least. But anyway, yes, you should get Ghost of Tsushima as I don't want to say like a necessity for a PS5, but you should get this game if you want like a beautiful game from the last generation that with like really pretty simple, but at the same time really fun combat, stealth gameplay. The stealth gameplay is actually like pretty good, honestly. I want to say like better than Assassin's Creed, especially with Assassin's Creed diving into the more like RPG kind of stuff lately. Thought I froze, didn't you? Gotcha. But this is definitely a necessity I think you should get for your PS5. Now, I will say, like right now, definitely wait till the director's cut comes out, because that'll be the PS5 version of Ghost of Tsushima. It'll be be of like PS5 next gen quality, and at the same time, you're going to get a bunch of additional features and content because it's going to have the Iki Island expansion, which is going to give Jin a whole new island, new enemies to face, and a new story. A whole slew of stuff. It adds like 20 hours of content to the game, which I am perfectly fine with. I can't wait to dive back into this game, into this world. Now, I know there is the controversy with the Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut with how they're going about the monetization for it, which is if you have the base normal game, which I do, it'll cost $10 to upgrade it to PS5, and then another $20 to upgrade it to the director's cut. Now, for a lot of people, that's very like off-putting and seems like very money like hungry, which I get. I honestly get that. I understand that. But in my mind, I just look at it as like that's about the base price of what most DLC is priced at. Now, of course, this isn't just DLC; it's also a next-gen upgrade. But I just kind of like bundled that together, really, at least in my case. Now, obviously, if you don't have a PS5 yet, you still like have your PS4 and everything, you can still get the director's cut. Thankfully, it will be available on PS4. There'll be like a few features missing that are exclusive to the PS5 version, but as far as like the actual director's cut, the DLC with the Iki Island, you'll still be able to get that for just the $20 on PS4. So at least that's nice, especially if you don't have a PS5 yet. You'll still be able to actually, get and witness the DLC and play through that. So at least nobody's really being left out for this director's cut. But I know I'll be getting the director's cut. Definitely, I I mean, $30 for that. Well, I get it. It does suck for a lot of people. I'm with you on that. Like, it should at least be cheaper, especially with Death Stranding's director's cut. It's only being $10 for the upgrade and all the additional content. It does seem greedy, but at the same time, I know I'm gonna get it anyway because that's just how much I love this game. I love this like whole island, you know, Jin as a character, the gameplay, the stuff, and then like I said, the photo mode. And plus, I can't wait to see what this Iki Island looks like and all the new setting it's gonna bring. And you know, that's something for you guys to look forward to. You know, I'll definitely probably be covering it on the channel a little bit. Who knows? But yeah, Ghost of Tsushima, definitely a requirement for all you PlayStation users out there, for both PS5 and PS4. Director's Cut comes out in a little less than a month. I'm excited, as you should be too. Got the little deer running across, and just... I could get lost in this world forever, I'm telling you. And you will too if you pick up this game. You should pick up this game. Especially since I think it actually went down on price on the on the PlayStation Store. Where I think it's now like $40 or $50 now, so not a huge price drop, but at least a price drop nonetheless. But yeah, I think that is all I have for Ghost of Tsushima PlayStation Revisited. Now, there will definitely be other games I cover and come back to on whether like you should pick them up on, whether basically recommending if you should pick them up or dive back into them on next-gen consoles, especially if you're like unsure of what to get once you get your hands on your PS5. Like, there's, of course, the PlayStation Hits there in the PlayStation Store. That'll give me a nice idea of, like, different games to cover. Some I played, some I haven't. So who knows where we'll go from here. But that is all I have, ladies and gentlemen. Here, let's just look at that gorgeous mountaintop right there as we close things out. Now, as always, I'd like to thank you all for entering the chat with me here at Enter the Chat. Let me know your thoughts down below on what you think of this somewhat like new series I'm going to be trying out. And any recommendations, you know, games you may want me to try and like cover, or just, you know, how well you think I did in the video, or what you think of the content or the game. Are you going to pick up Ghost of Tsushima's now, or are you going to hold out for that director's cut, or are you still on the fence until you get your PS5? Who knows what you do? Let me know down in the comments below. While you're down there, why don't you turn that thumb button blue, and then that little subscribe button, click on that too. And then after you do all that, I want you to get up and tell your friends and tell your family and tell everybody you know at work to do the same. Spread the word. Because the bird is the word. Just like the yellow bird I tried to follow earlier until it glitched out. And we found him anyway. Anyway, my name is Rico Suave. Thank you for joining me here on the beautiful island getaway of Tsushima. I'll catch all you guys in the next video.